Listen carefully, because this is where most men fail before they even begin. They believe attraction is built by showing more, giving more, being more available, more present, more eager. They think if they prove their worth through constant attention, constant messages, constant effort, she will finally feel drawn to them. But what they do not understand is this: what is always available is rarely valued. Scarcity is not just an economic principle, it is the foundation of desire itself. Think about it. The rarest things in life are the most pursued, not because they are always the best, but because they are difficult to obtain. The human mind is wired to assign value to what it cannot easily possess, and when it comes to attraction, this principle becomes even more powerful. When you are always there, always responding instantly, always ready to give your time, your energy, your attention, you become predictable. And predictability is the silent killer of desire. A woman does not become magnetically pulled towards certainty. She becomes pulled toward mystery, towards something she cannot fully grasp. This is where the illusion begins. Scarcity is not about disappearing completely. That is weakness disguised as strategy. True scarcity is controlled presence. It is the art of being felt, but not fully known, seen but not fully understood. You respond, but not instantly. You engage, but not endlessly. You reveal, but never completely. And slowly, something begins to happen inside her mind. She starts to notice the gaps, the moments where you are not there, the pauses in your attention, the silence between your words. And in those gaps, her imagination awakens. Understand, this imagination is far more powerful than reality. When you give her everything, there is nothing left to imagine. But when you give her just enough, her mind begins to fill in the blanks. She starts to wonder, what is he doing right now? Why isn't he responding like before? Is he thinking about me or someone else? These questions are not problems. They are seeds, seeds of curiosity, seeds of desire, and curiosity is the beginning of attraction. Most men try to convince a woman to like them, but the real game is far more subtle. You don't make her like you, you make her think about you. Because once she starts thinking about you, when you are not there, the process has already begun. Scarcity creates space, and space is where emotional tension lies. Without tension, there is no pull. Without pull, there is no attraction. You must become the man who is present enough to be felt, but distant enough to be desired. This does not mean playing childish games. This is not about ignoring her or pretending to be busy. She will sense that, and when she does, the illusion breaks. This is about genuinely building a life where your attention is not easily given away, where your time is valuable because it is invested elsewhere, where your focus is not dependent on her reactions. When a woman senses that your world does not revolve around her, something shifts. You become a challenge, and the mind is drawn to challenges it cannot immediately solve. She begins to invest more energy trying to understand you, trying to gain your attention, trying to secure a place in your world. And here is the paradox: the less you try to hold her attention, the more she tries to hold yours. But you must be precise. Too much distance, and she loses interest. Too much availability, and she loses attraction. The power lies in the balance, in the rhythm of presence and absence, in the tension between connection and mystery. You show interest, then you pull back. You engage deeply, then you disappear into your own world, not abruptly, not dramatically, but naturally, effortlessly, like a man who has options, like a man who is not chasing but choosing. And this is where the illusion reaches its peak. Because she does not consciously think, he is creating scarcity. No, what she feels is something far more powerful. She feels uncertainty, and uncertainty, when mixed with interest, creates emotional intensity. She begins to value your attention more because she cannot predict when she will receive it again. She begins to feel a subtle urgency, a desire to secure your presence before it fades. And slowly, without realizing it, she starts moving toward you. Not because you chased her, but because your absence pulled her in. This is the quiet power of scarcity. It does not demand attention, it attracts it. It does not force desire. It allows desire to grow in the spaces you leave behind. And once you truly understand this, you stop trying to impress. And you start learning how to withhold not everything, just enough pay attention. Because this is where attraction transforms into obsession. Most men are taught a simple rule: be consistent, be stable, be predictable. Always show up the same way. Always respond the same way. Always express the same level of interest. They believe this builds trust, and yes, it does. But what they fail to understand is that, while consistency builds comfort, it quietly destroys intrigue. And without intrigue, attraction begins to fade. A woman may appreciate consistency, but she becomes captivated by unpredictability. Not chaos, not instability, but controlled unpredictability. The kind that keeps her mind engaged, alert, and searching for patterns it cannot fully decode. Because the human mind is not drawn to what it fully understands. It is drawn to what it is trying to understand. When your behavior becomes predictable, she no longer needs to think about you. She already knows what you will say, how you will act, when you will respond. There is no mystery left, no tension, no reason for her mind to wander toward you in your absence. But when your emotional rhythm cannot be easily mapped, something changes. She starts paying closer attention. Every word you say carries more weight. Every shift in your tone becomes significant. Every moment of warmth, followed by a moment of distance, creates contrast. And contrast is the spark of emotional intensity. Understand, these emotions are not felt in isolation. They are felt through contrast. Warmth feels stronger after distance. Attention feels more valuable after absence. Affection feels more powerful when it is not constant. This is the principle you must master. You are not here to be emotionally unstable. You are here to be emotionally strategic. One moment, you are fully present, engaged, attentive, making her feel seen and understood. Your energy is focused. Your presence is undeniable. In that moment she feels the connection, and then without warning you shift, not cold, not rude, just slightly withdrawn. Your attention moves elsewhere, your energy changes, the intensity fades, and her mind reacts instantly. What changed? Did I say something wrong? Why is he different now? These questions are not signs of rejection. They are signs of engagement, because now she is thinking about you. Now she is trying to understand you. Now she is emotionally invested in decoding your behavior. Most men fear this moment. They rush to reassure, to explain, to restore consistency. They panic at the thought of being misunderstood. But the one who understands power allows the tension to exist. Because tension is not your enemy. Tension is the bridge between interest and obsession. When everything is smooth, predictable, and easy, there is no reason for emotional investment. But when there is a slight friction, a subtle unpredictability, the mind becomes active. And an active mind is an attached mind. You must become the man who cannot be fully figured out, not because you are confusing, but because you are layered. You laugh, but not always. You respond, but not instantly. You show interest, but not constantly. Your emotions are real, but they are not always on display. And this creates a dynamic where she cannot settle into certainty. She feels something, but she cannot fully define it. And that feeling keeps pulling her back. But listen carefully, this is where most will fail. They will try to imitate unpredictability through inconsistency without control. They will become erratic, distant, or emotionally unavailable in a way that feels forced. And that does not create attraction. It creates distrust. The difference lies in intention. Controlled unpredictability comes from a place of self-possession. It is natural. It is effortless. It is the byproduct of a man who is not centered around one person, one outcome, one need. You are not changing your behavior to manipulate her. You are expressing different sides of yourself without the need to maintain a fixed image. Sometimes you are playful, sometimes you are serious, sometimes you are deeply engaged, sometimes you are focused elsewhere. And because these shifts are not forced, they feel authentic. And authenticity combined with unpredictability becomes irresistible. She begins to feel like every interaction with you is different, alive, dynamic, unscripted, and in a world where most interactions are repetitive and predictable, this stands out. It creates emotional spikes, moments she remembers, moments she replays in her mind, moments she tries to understand long after they have passed. And this is where attraction deepens, because it is no longer about you trying to win her over. It becomes about her trying to understand you, trying to anticipate you, trying to earn the moments where you are fully present again. And the more she tries, the deeper she falls into the dynamic. This is the quiet shift from attraction to psychological investment, from interest to preoccupation. You are no longer just a person in her life. You become a pattern she cannot solve, a presence she cannot predict, a feeling she cannot easily replace. And all of this begins with a simple shift. You stop being consistent in a way that makes you forgettable, and you start becoming unpredictable in a way that makes you unforgettable. Understand this clearly. Attention is not just something you give. It is something you trade. And like any currency, its value is determined not by how much exists, but by how scarce and controlled it is. Most men spend their attention recklessly. They give it away at the first sign of interest. A reply comes in. They respond instantly. A story is posted. They react immediately. A conversation begins. They pour in energy, time, focus, hoping that more attention will somehow create more attraction. But what they fail to realize is this: when attention is given freely, it loses its weight. It becomes expected. And what is expected is no longer desired. A woman does not become magnetically drawn to constant attention. She becomes accustomed to it, and once she is accustomed, she stops valuing it. This is where the shift must happen. You must begin to see your attention not as something to offer, but as something to control. Because controlled attention creates emotional gravity. When your attention is not always available, it becomes something she notices, something she feels, something she begins to seek. Think about the moments when someone you are interested in suddenly pulls back their attention. The silence feels louder. The absence feels heavier. Your mind begins to question, to analyze, to replay interactions. Now reverse that dynamic. When you are the one who controls the flow of attention, you become the one who occupies her thoughts. This is not about ignoring her. This is not about playing games. This is about precision. You give attention, but with intention. When you are present, you are fully present. Your focus is sharp. Your words are deliberate. Your energy is directed. In those moments, she feels seen in a way that most people never offer. And then you withdraw, not abruptly, not emotionally, but naturally. Your attention shifts back to your world, your purpose, your priorities, your life. And this is where the effect begins, because now your attention is no longer constant. It becomes intermittent. And intermittent attention is one of the most powerful psychological triggers in human behavior. It creates anticipation. It creates uncertainty. It creates a subtle craving for the next moment of connection. She begins to notice when you are not there. She begins to wait for your messages. She begins to feel a sense of reward when your attention returns. And slowly, your presence becomes something she values more than before. This is the same principle that makes certain experiences addictive. Not because they are always available, but because they are not. The mind becomes conditioned to seek what it cannot consistently have. And when your attention operates on this pattern, it gains power. But listen carefully. This power only works if your attention, when given, is meaningful. If you withdraw attention, but offer nothing of value when you return, the effect collapses. Controlled attention is not about giving less, it is about giving better. When you speak, you do not fill space with meaningless words. You say something that engages her mind. When you listen, you do not pretend, you actually observe, understand, and respond with depth. When you interact, you create moments that stand out, moments that feel different from the ordinary conversations she experiences every day. So when your attention is present, it leaves an impression, and when it is absent, that impression lingers. Most men try to maintain attention at all times, fearing that if they pull back, they will lose her interest. But the opposite is true. When attention is constant, it fades into the background. When attention is controlled, it stands in the foreground. She begins to associate your presence with something valuable, something she does not always have access to. And this changes the dynamic completely. You are no longer the one seeking her attention. She begins to seek yours. She starts initiating more. She starts investing more. She starts adjusting her behavior to align with the moments when you are most engaged. And without realizing it, she steps into your frame. But there is a deeper layer to this. Controlled attention also communicates something without words. It signals that you are not dependent, that your world does not revolve around her, that your time is occupied by things that matter. And this creates a perception of value, because people instinctively respect what is in demand. If your attention is always available, it suggests that it has no other place to go. But when it is limited, it suggests that it is valuable, and value attracts, not through force but through perception. You must become selective, not cold, not distant, but intentional. You do not respond out of habit, you respond out of choice. You do not engage out of boredom, you engage because you decide to. And this subtle shift changes everything, because now, every moment of your attention carries weight. Every interaction feels earned. Every connection feels significant. And she begins to feel something she cannot easily explain, a pull toward the moments when you are fully there, a curiosity about the moments when you are not, a desire to experience more of your presence even if it is not always available. And this is where controlled attention becomes magnetic. It does not overwhelm. It does not chase. It draws her in, piece by piece, moment by moment, until your attention is no longer just something you give. It becomes something she wants to keep.